Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the Underworld. The Star Wars Underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The Underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the Underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun, and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Woo! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
What's up, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are your source for the latest breaking Star Wars news and discussion each and every week. And tonight on the show, we're going to be talking about a new animated Star Wars series that has just been accidentally or on purpose revealed. We are also just an hop, skip, and a jump away from Star Wars Celebration. And we have a ton of new details about the upcoming convention. Plus, we have interviews with the cast and crew of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and they've revealed new details about the series. We're going to be talking about all this and so much more on this episode. My name is Chris, and joining me is my good friend, Mr. Dominic Jones.
Yes, hello, Chris. Hello, Ben. Hello, everybody. I think it's safe to say everything's starting to feel a bit real. Celebration is less than a month away. Obi-Wan Kenobi also less than a month away now. It's all coming up. It's all just around the corner. I think we're going to have a lot of fun next week with May the 4th, and there's always a bigger 5th and whatever all the other ones are that we came up with last week or that we read off a meme.
There's always... No, you're right.
Yeah. I was right. For once, I was right. It's not me saying Cad Bane's never going to be in another Star Wars project and then him showing up the next night.
My brain literally told me you said Revenge of the Fifth.
No. It's
because I'm so used to that, and I was going to correct you. But yes, you're right.
Well,
Revenge of the Sixth.
Revenge of the Sixth. It's always a bigger 5th, and I can't remember what the other ones were. But that's it. But it's all starting to feel real, and I'm just excited to talk about all of these things that we have going on, including something very exciting that we have long wanted to do that we will be announcing in just a few moments.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this after the fact, you may already know about it. In fact, if you're listening to this now and you follow the right people on social media, you might already know about it.
But you know who you are.
Yeah. But it's exciting nonetheless, and it's going to be a great week.
Heck yes. And also joining us, it's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? Yeah, the hype is extremely real for me personally because I just got back from Batu, guys. I was just there a couple days ago. I don't want to rub it in, but it was for a special occasion. I'm old, guys. I'm really old. I just turned the big 3-0 the other day. And so I'm over the hill officially. I figure,
Dominic,
why not?
what are you doing on the show with all us old geezers?
Yeah, I know.
You sprite young and 20-year-old.
Yeah, I still got a couple of years to go before I cross that threshold.
Yeah, you youngins, jeez, kids these days. But it was a lot of fun, and we will get into fully my experience and all our experiences with a certain something that I think you guys probably know that I have talked about on social media, but I'm looking forward to talk about it at length here. But also hit up Doc Ondar's. And it's always nice to pay Doc Ondar a visit. And thankfully, and included with the trip was a nice little birthday present. And I'm happy to show it off now and make you all jealous. Okay. Because when I went to the shop, I'll be honest, my parents were like, hey, do you want something? And I'm like, I'm not gonna lie, okay? This one thing has been on my bucket list for like years, and I would never ever buy it for myself because I don't have that kind of cash usually, and also I'm kind of a cheapskate. but I got a ticket, got in line. You had to get a ticket just to get up to the line to this specific counter to see these things. And I got to see them all, and I picked this one.
Yeah, look at that.
That's just incredible. Not just one, but a 2-pack. It wasn't even that much more money to get both of these.
Wow.
Which is crazy to me. And they're all and he's also like, "Oh yeah, those are the color changing ones. Those are the only ones that change from blue to green and back again." And I'm like,
so
give them to me now.
So for everybody who's listening and not seeing what Ben is holding up, he's holding up a couple of lightsaber hilts that belong to everybody's favorite Jedi stroke citizen, Ahsoka Tano. Yeah. And they are absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I want to reach through the screen and steal them from you, Ben.
Well, and see, I'm already planning ahead because it cost a good chunk of change extra to get the blades. So I didn't want to carry them around the park all day because then you get the blades and then they're like, "Oh, we sell like a lightsaber sheath," and I'm like, I gotta pay extra for that, and then it's just like I didn't carry it around the park all day because it was still early. I gotta go to another park, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna come back. So I think you might see me wielding one of these at Celebration, maybe.
Yeah.
If I can get out to Disney and get the blades again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be great. You're just going to have you running around the convention floor just swinging it at people. It's going to be great. It'd be great. I'm jealous.
I just got to explain it when I get on the plane. If they see this, if they see this in the X-ray thing, I'm gonna have questions probably.
Well, I like that they're like, oh well, you can get the second one. It's not that much more expensive to get that. It's just that sounds like what Ahsoka said to Anakin when she's like, oh, I want to get the second lightsaber. He's like, but it'll cost so much more, and she's like, not that much. That's my new headcanon. So Filoni, get on that for that sounds like a tale of the Jedi you could write an animated short about.
Yeah, exactly. But they have some deep cuts at that, like I would call it lightsaber bar. Like they have the other half, the half of Maul's lightsaber that he has in season 7 of Clone Wars. They have the other half of that. They have the like newly constructed part of it. Because I didn't recognize it at first. I'm like, wait, I asked the guy, I'm like, what is that? He's like, oh, that's Maul's shadow something or another. I'm like, oh, I know what that is, but I didn't recognize it off the bat. So, they got some. Of course, they got the Cal Kestis one. They got the Ray Skywalker. Not the Ray Skywalker. I think they may have Ray Skywalker.
I think they did.
But they had the Skywalker saber reconnected one, and they had Leia saber. Oh, there's all that one in them all.
Well, it's like you and Funko Pops. Once you get one, it's not going to end.
See, that's the thing. It's really dangerous. It's really dangerous because before I'm like, I'm not gonna get that. I'm never gonna spend that money. I'm like, I have one now. I must have more.
Yeah.
One more, but I know I shouldn't.
If I've learned anything from watching Star Wars TikToks, it's that you start with one lightsaber, and next thing you know, you got about a dozen. So. Ben, I imagine we'll be at Disney Star Wars night during Celebration. I just imagine we're gonna be holding you back from getting into Doc-Ondars. You'll be like, I need it. I need the dark saber. We'll be like, no, Ben, no.
And you're just gonna be like, another fine addition to my collection.
My precious.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. I want to see those things. I want to see those things in person.
Yeah.
So we're going to get to the news in just a second, but real quick, if you're watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button. And if we also have an audio version of our podcast on like Spotify and all those places, if you want to check us out while you're driving or working or doing stuff. And then if you're just listening to the show and you want to watch us, we are on YouTube. Search for the Star Wars Underworld. You'll find us. Please subscribe over there. You can super chat with us over on YouTube so we can highlight your comment. We'll become a part of the discussion. We also have a new feature where you can become a channel member. And we have our first channel member. It's our great friend, Jesse Bennett. Jesse, welcome to the Channel Member Club. We're going to come up with an official name for this. We have not had time to think about it. Maybe we'll have some input from the channel members on what they should call themselves.
Yeah. What's a good club name? A good Star Wars club name?
It could be like the Jedi Council, like the member
Club Obi-Wan.
Council.
Of course, it's not technically a club.
Club Obi-Wan.
Club Obi-Wan.
I like it. I like. Maybe we need like our own like clone division, like the.
Like the 410th.
Yeah, the 410th. There we go. 410th division. There you go.
Let me Google that and make sure that's not an already established one.
Yeah, so it's like, no, we are the Oklahoma Garrison of the 501st, and that is our moniker.
Yeah. No. But
well, you know, I know actually 410 is the area code for Orlando, Florida. I'm pretty sure, because we used to have that number, and it used to say that it was from Orlando, I believe. So correct me if I'm wrong, or Florida listeners, watchers, but I think it's Orlando area.
Yeah, well, I think we should go with that. I think Jesse can be CT-001.
Yes.
Of our new garrison, and the three of us are, we're the clone commanders. We're CC. I guess Ben, founder, CC-001. Chris, you were second in 002, and I'll take 003 to round it out.
There you go. And for the record, I'm not seeing any 410th. I see 104 Battalion, as in the Wolf Pack, but no 410.
Yeah, it's an anagram of that.
Yeah. All right, we're good. Now we just have to make it become canon. It has to be written into a Star Wars book or comic or movie or show.
It's gonna be troopers with a Mandalorian with the mythosaur on their helmet.
Ooh, all right.
Pretty freaking
Pablo,
cool.
get on it.
The head cannon is beginning.
Yes. So thank you so much for becoming a channel member, Jesse. And now whenever he comments, you'll see like a little cool planet looking shaped thing next to his name. So if anybody else wants to do that, that would be awesome. Greatly appreciated. It's going to help us with something that we're going to talk about very, very soon on the show. You can also find our merch over at patreon.com/theswu. You get it in time so it can be shipped before Star Wars Celebration. Order now. You can also get additional merch over at cultureslate.com/store related to all the podcasts in our podcast network, which are Star Wars Culture, Chatter Squadron, and Eye on Canon. So make sure you check out those other shows' YouTube channels as well. Go to the main Culture Slate YouTube channel. The links to everybody else's channels are right there. That is the fastest way to do it, so you don't have to type all that stuff in to find it. And you can send feedback to us at swunderworld@gmail.com.
All right. Well, let's get into the news. And we start with our top story this week, of course, having to do with Celebration. Is it the release of the schedule? No. Is it the fact that Ewan McGregor is going to be there? No. Is it the accidental on purpose reveal of Tales of the Jedi? No. It is, of course, the biggest story in all of Star Wars fandom. Well, probably not. It's the biggest story in the Star Wars underworld this week. And that is, at long last, we are announcing that we are throwing our own off-site Star Wars Underworld podcast party, and the venue, the location, where else would it be? It's going to be at IHOP. It's going to be across the street from the convention center. It's going to be on Thursday night at 7 p.m. local time. So that's Thursday, May 26th, the first day of the convention. We're going to be over there at IHOP. We're going to be eating some pancakes. We're going to do a live show. We're going to have live music. We're going to have opportunities for everybody who's there to get on the show if they want to. And think about it, Thursday is also the day of the big showcase panel that kicks off the convention. So we may have a lot of very interesting things to talk about. And we're going to be wanting to hear everybody's opinions and feelings and how what we all think is going to go down in those shows that will have been announced and teased at that event. So make sure you come on, you write that into your plans for Star Wars Celebration. Don't pencil it in, ink it in to your plans. Thursday, May 26th, 7 p.m. We'll have more details on, how all of this is going to go down. This all just sort of came together today, but we'll have lots more details in the coming weeks. But for now, write it into your plans. Thursday, 7 p.m. live podcast at IHOP across the street from the convention center. It's on what is it? South Harbor Way Boulevard or something?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's on the corner of Harbor and Catella. It's across from the CVS.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time. We're gonna have lots and lots of fun.
And this is for those of you who have not familiarized yourself with the show schedule. The floor closes at 7.
Yes.
And there's not going to be any panels after 7.
Yeah.
So basically, the idea here is do whatever your last thing of the day is that you're going to do, and then walk right across the street.
Yeah, right across the street for like a bonus panel, and a bonus panel that if you want, you can be part of. And yeah, we'll have, like I said, we'll have music, we'll have a live show, and probably some giveaways. We'll have some swag. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. You don't want to miss it. So ink it into your schedules. Don't bother with a pencil. Use a pen. And who knows, for next time, you might even be able to use a Star Wars Underworld pen to give you a little teaser of what else we're thinking. Crazy plans we got. But yeah, this is going to be very exciting. We've mentioned it before. We'll mention it again. We're not going to have the booth this year on the show floor. So this is going to be kind of our big way to try and connect with everybody who listens to this show after the fact, and just have a good time hanging out together and eating some pancakes, or I don't know, maybe you want a burger, or you want just some avocado on toast because you're weird like Chris, or you can just whatever you want, whatever you're feeling good. We'll have a good time, and it's gonna be a great show. So come on out Thursday.
And as Joel mentions, even if you're not gonna make it to Celebration, come on down. If you're in the area, like some people maybe can't go for whatever reason, doesn't matter. Like, come on down. Like you can get Denny's. You can't. There won't be.
No,
any,
you can't go to
limits.
Denny's. You do not, Ben. You do not go to Denny's. We're at the end of this IHOP party. We're actually going to go and fight with another podcast who are having their event at Denny's. It's just going to be a brawl in the parking lot. No,
we're going to be giving out eggs, and we're all going to go to Denny's. And we're going to throw eggs at Denny's.
No, a celebration ticket is not required to show up at the IHOP party. Jesse asks a very important question here, which is, did you clear this with IHOP, or will they be surprised? They know we're coming.
Okay, so
they know we're coming.
They know that a bunch of us are going to descend upon their upper decks. That's it. So all the other stuff,
they'll find out. They'll find out.
There may be surprises in store for all parties.
And you will remember this day is the day that you were kicked out of IHOP.
The first time.
Hannah Rayside says you might even see a special guest bass player at the event. Yeah. It's gonna be good. Matthew Hardy says, "Bring your lightsabers." Yes, Ben, bring the lightsabers to the party, and everybody else bring their lightsabers too.
I'll be working on that. Just pray for me that I don't get arrested on the way. Because I just looked up. The TSA has a official like they have an official policy on lightsabers, so I think I'm safe.
I think you're good.
They're like, yeah, lightsabers are okay. So
enough people travel with lightsabers that I think you'll be all right. Carl says he's gonna fly in just for the IHOP meetup. That is dedication. Yes. And Carl, I will hold you to that. All right. So yeah, again, May 26th, 7:00, IHOP. Everybody, come on down. It's gonna be a great time. Okay, let's get into the actual news. And, of course, this week we did get the announcement of the Star Wars Celebration schedule. And with it came a surprise sort of secondary announcement, which is our first details about what Tales of the Jedi is. If you remember, back in, I guess it was January, it's late December, early January, the Lucasfilm Christmas gift was posted online, and it was this like cool record player, and it had on the box, it listed all of the Star Wars and non-Star Wars, all the Lucasfilm projects that were in the works for 2022 and beyond. And for 2020, and one of the projects was Tales of the Jedi. And we had never heard of Tales of the Jedi. We assumed it wasn't the very, very good comic book series from the 1990s. We assumed that wasn't the case. That it was something new. Well, as expected, we will find out more details about it at Star Wars Celebration. And we know that because there's going to be a panel called Tales of the Jedi Revealed. or just called Tales of the Jedi. Sorry, we titled it Tales of the Jedi Revealed. But it's going to be on Saturday, May 28th. So 2 days after the IHOP party.
So you're still going to be full from all the pancakes.
That's how we're judging time at Celebration. Pre-IHOP, post-IHOP.
Yes.
Exactly. It's on the Celebration stage, but will also be streamed to the Galaxy and Twin Sun stages from 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. local time. And this is what it says about the panel. It says, introducing Tales of the Jedi, animated anthology shorts, hosted by Amy Ratcliffe with special guest Dave Filoni. So, Tales of the Jedi. What do we think? What do we think of this reveal?
This is freaking awesome. I mean, like, we've obviously been hearing kind of like rumors and speculation about this for a while. And so I was already kind of pre-hyped for this one, but in like a very low-key way, because there was nothing official, so I couldn't really, talk too much about it like it was happening. But yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around the idea that this is basically what I've been pitching them for like 5 years, which is an anthology Star Wars animated show that's a little bit higher tier than like the YouTube stuff. Because it's like, I love the YouTube stuff, but it's just like, it's very bite-sized. A lot of it is like kind of very marketed towards younger children to be digestible for like very, very young children. It's tied into toy sales and spots. So like having that really great idea mixed with the really high quality storytelling, in-depth storytelling that's done on almost like a cinematic level with the other animated shows that are on Disney Plus, that is just a really cool combination of things. And that's one of the things I love the most about the Clone Wars series was how it was very much an anthology series, despite it being all in the same era. Even the timeline was jumping around, and certainly the characters and stories were. And that's one of the things that made the show so good, is it was so eclectic. So, I think this is a brilliant idea. This is a very long time coming, and I'm so excited that they're doing this.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird how they announced this, because it feels like such a huge deal. And for them to just release the schedule and like, oh yeah, by the way, there's this little thing happening. It's literally a brand new like animated anthology series. Like, it's crazy. And just the fact that we're getting this at Celebration, I think is really exciting. And we're potentially, I'm assuming, we'll be seeing these episodes for the first time at Celebration, which is crazy. But I mean, it's obviously a great title. And will it have something to do with the books? Will it not? Who knows? But just the fact that we're getting some really cool, just something that I think if we can't like put our finger on it right off the bat and say, this is what this is, that's exciting. That's something that like, okay, I can go in without expectations, without all these preconceived notions, and go like, okay, this is just new Star Wars. What is this? I want to see this. I hope they don't tell us anything. I hope they keep this up and just like until so people just like will just low key be super excited about this panel and go into it and go like, okay, what is this? Tell us what this is. So crazy.
So I'll give my thoughts in a second, but we got a couple of super chats we want to get to. Joel says, if this was the Lucas era, I feel the title wouldn't have much meaning behind it. But since Filoni has more reverence for older EU material, I could see a connection to the old comics in some form. And Jesse says, wondering if they find a way to tie it into Visions or if it'll be a completely new anthology series.
Ooh,
we'll come back to those. We'll come back to those in just a second. But I will say, I'm very excited by this. The word shorts throws me for a little bit of a loop, because shorts could be Galaxy of Adventures on YouTube, or it could be Star Wars Visions on Disney Plus. I'm leaning more towards it being Visions. I feel like that's. I feel like they're still doing animated shorts on YouTube or on the Star Wars Kids YouTube. That are like the Galaxy of Creatures things, which are lots of fun, but they're not at the same sort of tier of production that Visions or Bad Batch or Clone Wars or any of those things were. And given that Galaxy of Creatures wasn't on the side of the record box, I'm assuming this is going to belong with more in the Bad Batch Star Wars Visions camp. And I think that's really exciting. And I love the idea of 15 to 30-minute stories being told just with pre-existing characters, hopefully with some new characters in there, hopefully in kind of personally, I really like the Clone Wars style of animation. So if they just wanted to do that, I'd be on board. If they want to come up with something new, I think that's cool as well. But I think there's a lot of potential here, and obviously having Dave on board, lends it an extra level of credence. So to head back to Joel's comment here, Filoni has more reverence for old EU material. I think that's true, and I'm really hopeful that we get our first High Republic on-screen story in this.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
Yeah, and if they can find some way to tie it in with the books, terrific. Like, let's get Avar Kriss and Stellan Gios and Elzar Mann and characters like that in there. I love it. But also, if you wanted to throw in a little nod to the old Dark Horse comics, maybe a character with the last name Sunrider, or the character with the last name Kuhn, like Exar Kuhn.
Wow.
Or, just throw in
great.
some little details. Droma, like Droma, like get those characters in there and just drop some nods and some hints in there. I think that would be pretty sweet and pretty fun, and a way to honor where the title comes from without having to do a strict adaptation, which I think would be really cool. And then Jesse saying they could tie it into Visions. I think more likely is a season 2 of Visions that ties into Visions.
That definitely happened. But the idea too of having like, I don't know, like it's kind of strange, because the thing that's like really great about Visions is that it is that unique style of animation. So it doesn't really make sense for them to jump those stories into another style of animation, because that's one of the big selling points of that show. But at the same time, it would be very fascinating to see those characters in a different medium as well. So I'm kind of torn on that, because I want it to kind of stay what it is, but then also why not cross things over as well? I'm of course leaning towards that's probably not going to happen as well.
Well, in the same vein as Visions, will this be like, hey, this is like definitive, like we're seeing the canonical tale of Nomi Sunrider, or Ulic Qel-Droma, or whatever else? Like, are we just gonna be like that, or is it gonna be something more along the lines of Visions, where we're seeing more of a, not a what if, but more of it's more ambiguous about the canonicity of like the history of this. It's more of a legend. I like Visions because it didn't take itself too seriously, and it was specifically like presented as this is just we're throwing stuff out there, and is it canon, is it not? We're not going to tell you. And it would be interesting if these stories could be more along those lines, and maybe in doing so they could also make reference to Visions or expand on something in Visions, and kind of build a more cohesive universe or cohesive narrative. But it's not necessarily, like this is canon, this is the actual story. It's just like, nah, it's Star Wars, and you're hearing the legend of Exar Kun and whatever else.
What if they tie in more Legends characters? Like, what if they had a nod, like, this is probably going too far. What if you had a nod to like Jason and Jaina Solo? Let's throw in something.
Look, wow. I wouldn't rule anything out, because despite all the discourse in the fandom over the years about canon versus Legends and all this kind of stuff, it's clear that the creators don't see a whole lot of difference. They don't really. They've never really. There's been tons of Legends references even before it was called Legends, and especially now. So many things over the last few years have been canonized because they've been mentioned in stuff, and there's been other stuff just straight up taken. So like, I think the precedent has been set for like, okay, it's a legend, but it's just basically waiting for something to confirm it or bring it in and make it a canon version of it. I would love it if they went on a limb and like grabbed something like Mara Jade, which is like doesn't really seem to fit into canon. I'm not even sure I want. I'm of the opinion like certain characters don't belong in canon. You don't need to shoehorn thing that works in Legends, that works in that story. You don't need to mash everything together and make it canon just to make it canon, just for the sake of making it canon. But you could tell a story with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think what you're saying, Ben, just to clarify, is Legends does not equate bad and canon does not equate good automatically. There's good. There's good and bad in both. Is what you're. I think what you're trying to get at.
I think that's kind of it. I think, and there's a lot of stuff online with canon bad, Legends good, or vice versa. And it's just like, oh God, guys.
It's like they both have their strengths and their weaknesses.
How would the Star Wars fandom react if the first scene of this series is Mara Jade on screen? Oh, that would...
I think people would be real excited. I think they'd be real excited. I'm hoping for something that, like, all the things we're talking about, I'm hoping for something that's kind of a mishmash of everything. Like, I want to see a couple, like if we get like, how many episodes of Visions were there? 9, 12, something like that?
Yeah, 9, I think.
9, yeah. Like, if there's 9 episodes, like, I think it'd be cool if we got like somewhere between 3 and 5 that were pre-existing characters. Like, you do a Luke episode, you do an Obi-Wan episode, you do a Rey in between episodes 8 and 9 story, something like that. You bring it all together. You do those, and then the rest of them do new characters, new Jedi. So, like, let Tales of the Jedi explore what it means to be a Jedi, not just be, short little adventures with the characters we already know, but let's ask ourselves, what does it actually mean to be a Jedi? Let's have that story, have these stories explore the different facets and the different ways of being a Jedi and the different ways the Jedi Order has existed throughout the years and the different roles that it's played in the galaxy. And that's one of the things that I think Visions did so well, was it was able to break away from, we're doing a Star Wars story, so we need Han Solo, Chewbacca, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all those characters. And it was able to just sort of go, okay, what is Star Wars? And how can we tell interesting Star Wars stories that don't rely on anything else? And I think Visions did that incredible job of that. And I'd love for Tales of the Jedi to do that as well, while also incorporating in some of the classics as well.
Wow. And Rey, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm not expecting this, but how great of a framing device would that be to have Rey? There, maybe she's going through the old Jedi texts, and hey, here's a chapter about Darth Malak or something like that.
Every episode begins with Daisy Ridley just reading a book, going like, what am I going to read about this week?
See, this is me scheming to get Daisy Ridley back in Star Wars. Okay?
Yeah.
This is my ulterior motive.
That lunch she had with Kathleen Kennedy all those months ago has to mean something.
I mean, the lunch was at IHOP, so.
Yeah. Yeah.
Imagine we're doing a podcast. Imagine we're just doing our thing, and we look over, and it's Kathleen Kennedy and Daisy Ridley just eating pancakes, and we're like,
yeah,
those people look familiar.
Hey. By the way, we have our CT-002 from the 410th Garrison, Joel Davis, coming in as CT-002, and appropriately with a super chat saying, imagine making characters like Exar Kun and Nomi Sunrider the legends of canon, meaning they are in-universe legends whose canonicity is dubious. Yeah,
ooh,
I like it. I like it, yeah. Where it's like there was this tale of this great Jedi named Nomi Sunrider, and nobody really knows what happened.
What is actual history? What is actual factual for the characters in Star Wars? We talked about this before. How do they record keep? And like in the real world in ancient times, stuff was sometimes passed down orally or through texts or whatever else, and a lot of things we don't know exactly for sure if this happened or that happened because it's unreliable sources. With Star Wars, you have all those texts. I like the idea of like Rey's just picking this stuff up and she's learning about it, and maybe it's true, maybe it's not, and you can throw a lot of the legend stuff in there if it's crazy and if it's not very good, if it's something from Legends that wasn't thing, it still doesn't matter because it's like, oh my god, this is, and she's experiencing along with us.
Yeah, it's like those books, like the Legend of Luke Skywalker book that came out with Last Jedi, or the Myths and Legends books, where it's sort of like these stories are the stories that people tell each other in the universe. And sometimes they're based in some level of fact, and sometimes they're complete fiction. And I think that would be really fun. It's something that George R.R. Martin has done with the A Song of Ice and Fire world, the stuff that Game of Thrones is based on, where he's written these like in-universe textbooks where, the sourcing of the dude who wrote it is sort of dubious. So some of the things in it is like, yeah, that's what happened. And other things, it's like, well, that's not really what happened. And I think a Star Wars version of that could be fun. Tyler in the chat asks, is this going to be a greatest hits of Jedi related to Legends stories? I think this is a possibility. It's the broadness of this. The broadness of this title, Tales of the Jedi, means it could be anything. And like we've been speculating, I think there is a possibility here to play around with canonicity, quote unquote, and incorporate some characters that maybe existed in the books that haven't existed in the shows yet, or the shows or movies yet. And I think that could be really, really cool and really, really fun. Another question we had earlier in the chat from Thomas asking if episodes will be shown at Celebration. We don't know. All we know right now is that there's a 1 hour panel. It could be a full hour just previewing what's to come with concept art and clips and maybe some of the voice actors talking about it. It could be a 40-minute panel previewing what's to come, and then a 20-minute screening at the end of the first episode. It could be something like that. I think you never want to predict or guarantee anything, but I think it's very likely that whatever happens at this panel, it will conclude with a trailer, setting up what's to come in the rest of the season. So,
or they could be talking about something that already came out.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's the difference here, is that this is the first we're hearing about it outside of that weird record thing that we got a couple months ago. Like everything else, like, you're talking about live action stuff or Star Wars Bad Batch or whatever else. We know what that is. We know when that's coming. This is so vague. They were like, you could read this as I kind of read it, which is like they're going to premiere it here, or you could show it as, oh, well, maybe we're going to see it. We maybe have already seen it because we've got a month until Celebration and a lot can happen. Like, who knows?
I think most likely this will be a preview for something that's coming down the pipe, seeing as the description does say introducing Tales of the Jedi. But, a lot can change. A lot can change between now and then. I mean, it's a full month. I mean, we're recording this on April 28th, and the panel's not till May 20th. So who knows? They can change their mind at any time.
I just know it's been a while since we've had anything new on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, wow, they have so much content, and we've had how many weeks without something? Yeah. They got to start doing this, or otherwise they're going to have to put out 3 things a week.
Hey, they should. I'm game for it. I like it. I'd be there for it. I mean, we're going to have Star Wars and Marvel stuff in the same week, starting pretty soon, which is going to be pretty terrific. Yeah. Jesse with another super chat saying, working title for Tales of the Jedi was "I Heard a Star Wars Rumor." Da, 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 da. Ben, dance to the song, Ben. Dance like you did, like it's 2015.
Something like that.
There's one for every year of men doing that.
It looks like I got punched, which I never did, even though that guy once upon a time said it looks like somebody just walked up to the thing and went.
I didn't even consider that. Oh man. All right, good stuff. So that's Tales of the Jedi. There's a ton of great stuff on the Star Wars Celebration schedule. We'll do a proper deep dive into this thing closer to the event. We'll give some of our favorite panels, some of the things we're looking forward to, some of the things we're going to be trying to go to.
I mean, you can tune in for that, but you already know the important stuff. IHOP on Thursday and this, like, that's the most important. So everything else,
showcase panel, IHOP, Tales of the Jedi. Bad Batch. That's all you need. All you need. But as StarWars.com does have sort of the highlights of what's on the Galaxy stage, the Twin Sun stage, and the Celebration stage, which, by the way, the Celebration stage is in the arena where we saw the Force Awakens panel and Force Awakens
Interesting. Makes sense.
Previews back in the day. So that's where that will be. But so there's lots of good stuff. There's there's books panels, there's collecting panels, there's the celebration of 20th anniversary of Attack of the Clones, which is going to be on Friday, which is really cool. So lots to look forward to on those three big stages. Also a couple of holes in the schedule that I feel like could still be filled with things like a video games panel, which is kind of the big missing piece from all of this. Also, no mention of a Kenobi screening, but
come on, guys.
There's still time. There's still time. My hope is that they're planning something like extra special for that, and they're just figuring out the logistics.
Yeah.
I know there's not really a good spot for it, but I'm hoping they can find a way to do an outdoor screening.
I'm telling
Obi-Wan
you,
Kenobi.
giant screen in the middle of Angel Stadium. Okay,
Yes.
make it happen.
The Angels, they're there that week, right? Because
they are. They're playing the Blue Jays.
They're playing the Blue Jays, so I don't know when you have to work around their schedule there.
We could figure it out.
Or just giant screen. I was gonna say projected onto something massive. You know, they don't have a giant spaceship Earth at Disneyland, but like there's gotta be something else that they could.
That
project
wall
onto.
behind Cars Land.
Yeah, something. I'm hoping there's still a couple of things in the works that will be added to this schedule as we get closer to it. One thing that I really liked about the schedule, and one thing I was really excited for, and you won't see this on StarWars.com. You have to go to the Star Wars Celebration.com. Is there is a huge number of fan panels, which is something that I felt was kind of missing at the last two.
Yeah.
At 2019 and 2017 in Chicago and Orlando, I felt like we were missing the fan panels, and this go around there looks to be a ton, looks to be lots. There's a real wonderful range and diversity of those panels, and I'm really looking forward to checking out a good number of them that weekend. So I was really happy to see that. The one downside to the list, so there's the positives are some really cool big panels, some really cool fan panels. The one thing where I'm like, oh, something's still missing is there's no celebrity Q&As.
Oh,
Ian McDiarmid and Anthony Daniels. Those are the only two that are on the schedule for right now.
You have to come to the sighting test of a question.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of allusions in the schedule to a live stage, where I assume the live streaming will take place. And you can bet most people who are there will stop by there for 10 minutes to answer some questions and maybe throw some t-shirts into the crowd and that sort of thing. But the hour-long Q&As, man, they were great. They were always so much fun. Mark Hamill is not going to be there. He announced that this week. But back in the day, his Q&As, his talks, they were can't miss stuff. So hopefully, I don't know. I know the actors, they want to make their money sign in their names, and anytime that they're not doing that is money lost. But I wish they could get Ewan up there for an hour and just have him answer questions. I think it'd be fun for everybody, but oh well, c'est la vie. But the fan panel's terrific, big panel's terrific, and it's going to be a good time. Ewan McGregor will be there. That was also announced this week. Ewan McGregor's coming to Celebration, and he's signing and doing photo ops, and it's all already sold out. So if you were waiting for us to tell you about it, you waited too long, because it's gone. All gone. Oh, dear. All right, let's talk Obi-Wan Kenobi. We already talked about this a little bit last week, which is the composer for the series, Natalie Holt. Just literally hours after the show was done, where we talked about it being a rumor that Natalie would be composing the music. Variety got the scoop. They got the confirmation. Or no, sorry, not Variety. Vanity Fair got the scoop and got the confirmation that Natalie Holt will be writing the music for Obi-Wan Kenobi. She'll, of course, be working with a new theme that John Williams is composing for Obi-Wan, and she's going to do great. I'm sure she's going to do great. This is what she told Vanity Fair. She says, "Obviously, I'm just thrilled to be mentioned in the same breath as John Williams. It's been exciting and overwhelming at times because I'm such a fan. I want to pay respect to the history of it and do it justice as well." And she also describes her work as haunting. The work she does for the show is haunting.
Interesting.
So that should be cool. So yeah, so she's of course known for doing Loki, and as we mentioned last week, throwing eggs at Simon Cowell during Britain's Got Talent because she's an absolute legend.
Who could be haunting Obi-Wan? Does Qui-Gon count as a haunt?
I wasn't even thinking that. I was thinking just Anakin would be sort of haunting him. Him. Yeah, his memories.
He's all sparkly and glowy. Okay.
It's all sparkly, glowy. Good stuff. Good stuff. We've also got some new images from this week. These come courtesy of Total Film, who have a exclusive Obi-Wan Kenobi cover this month of their magazine. Obi-Wan on the cover looking pretty good. There's also a variant cover that's just Obi-Wan's lightsaber. And these are the pictures. Let's go through the pictures. So the first one we've got is Obi-Wan on Tatooine. This is the first sort of real good look at his Tatooine costume. He's got kind of a blue shirt with a brown kind of poncho thing going on there, and a utility belt looking thing. I like this look. I like that it's not it's not just the Revenge of the Sith look, but it's not the A New Hope one either. It's a little darker. It's a little bluer. Not to go all 10th grade English on this thing, but it's blue because he's sad. He's blue as well.
Well, it's very easy. It's very easy to kind of put him in Jedi robes, or just like whatever he was wearing in A New Hope, or whatever he was wearing in the Revenge of the Sith. I love that they're mixing this up. Props to the costume department for really giving us something different and unique, and also looks very Tatooine-esque.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And blue tunic, poncho, adding to the long history of legendary ponchos in Star Wars. I'm glad Obi-Wan finally gets one.
This is a good one to cosplay as well. I think we'll be seeing a lot of these ones at Celebration.
Yeah, he does. He looks like, and I mean this as a compliment, he looks like an extra from A New Hope or, Attack of the Clones.
Which makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to blend in. So
exactly.
they nailed that.
Yeah, they nailed it. But
he's not, the whole hobo look is gone. That hair, that back-swept hair, that perfectly manicured beard is gorgeous, okay? He does not look like a hobo, space hobo.
He looks like he's meeting a lady down in Mos Espa.
Yeah, this is his look right before he leaves Tatooine, once he's cleaned up a little bit. Speaking of him leaving Tatooine, we've got this one here that shows him on this new planet. This is very sort of they described it as Reno in space, I think, planet. And you know what I thought when I saw this? This looks like that Star Wars Underworld test footage.
It does. It also looks like the Uskru district in Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, I love it. It looks like it's out of the prequel trilogy.
Heck yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we haven't had a planet that looks like that in live action really since Attack of the Clones. It hasn't quite looked like that. It feels like the sort of thing that George would have done, and I like it. I like it. It's got a good vibe.
Yeah, we really haven't had that many urban environments, especially in live action Star Wars. Mandalorian, sequel trilogy kind of have avoided this kind of environment for the most part. I love that we're going back, and there's other people that live in this galaxy. Like a lot of them, it's nice to go where a lot of them are hanging out and seeing another Coruscant-esque planet where a lot of people are living kind of stacked on top of each other.
Mm-hmm. This looks like the sort of place that might thrive under the Empire, where there's a lot of seediness going on, and a lot of Imperial officers who could be bought off into looking the other direction while stuff goes down under the table.
Yeah,
it's a good looking.
I'd love to live under a table in the Star Wars galaxy. I would do that.
And then finally, we've got a new picture of the Grand Inquisitor. And I got to say, with every new image we get of the Grand Inquisitor, I think he looks better and better.
Photoshop, they're fixing it.
This is the best. This is the best he's looked. And I don't know, maybe I'm just getting used to it, but that head does look a little bit taller. I'm not going to lie. Well, a little bit.
If they're probably dumping like $20 million into each episode, so like, wouldn't surprise me if they have an extra $1 million to just change the shape of the head a little bit in post.
Just to stretch it up. I think the first shot. I went back and looked at the trailer. The first shot where we see the Grand Inquisitor. I don't know who chose that. That person. They were not. They either chose poorly. They either chose poorly or they weren't given enough assets to choose properly. Because that first shot is not a good introduction to that character. The camera's kind of angled up at him, so the top of his head's going to look smaller no matter what.
That's true.
And the way the scene is lit. It sort of makes his face look gray instead of white. So it makes all of the colors look kind of wrong on his face. And so our first impression of him is not how we remember him. It's not even close to how we remember him from Star Wars Rebels. Whereas if you go to the later shots in the trailer, he looks a lot better. And I feel like if you started with the later shot with the spinning lightsaber, very similar to this pick, I feel like I don't think that would have fixed the response. I think that we still would have had a similar response. But I don't think it would have been quite as visceral because he looks in all of these shots with his lightsaber out where you have the red reflecting on his face. He looks so much better. He looks much more like a live action version of that animated character. It's not 1-to-1. It was never going to be 1-to-1, but it looks just infinitely better than in that first shot that is, angled up and with weird lighting.
And the perspective or how zoomed in the camera is also affects things, because it's like our brain like corrects it for us, but like when people are like really close to us, you just kind of see a very angular version of their face. You just see kind of the parts that are closest to you because the other parts are hidden. But when people get further away, then you start seeing around the corners of people's faces, and it starts looking a lot more kind of like a globe, essentially, a lot more flattened and circular. And so one thing too is they might have chosen a shot that was filmed from really far away, so his face is kind of like flattened a lot and it looks kind of more like a circle, whereas in reality it's a lot more angular and oblong.
I feel like that shot that the one we're talking about, the first one in the trailer, I feel like when we see that in the context of the show, it won't stand out the way it did, but because it was our visual introduction to this character in this medium, it was a poor choice for our introduction. It should have been this total film picture, or it should have been later in the trailer when the saber was spinning and you get that red glow on his face and just a better framed shot to introduce this character.
Yeah.
Tyler in the chat says Grand Inquisitor looks better. Still wish we would see the yellow Sithy eyes. Minor quibble. Will they correct in post? It's possible. Or it might be one of those things where we'll see the Sithy eyes if we get a close up. Of him,
or his eyes might change if he's like fighting or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Situations.
Sort of. Yeah, like Anakin and it does in Revenge of the Sith. Joel with another super chat saying people keep saying Cad Bane's in that city image, so I'm gonna throw it back over to this one for everybody who's watching. I don't see him at all. Like I see just a bunch of sort of people in shadow.
Yeah, someone's gonna have to give me a giant red circle or a big arrow and show me where he is, because I don't see.
I think I see it. It's okay. How do I explain this?
I do. I see him. Look directly to the left of Obi-Wan. There's
Wait, I see him to the right.
Some big boots and a big hat.
I see him hanging down from the top of the picture.
I think he looks like the one that's too. Okay, there's Obi-Wan, and then there's a guy standing kind of in front of Obi-Wan, and he looks like he's the guy that's directly to the right in the background of the guy standing in front of Obi-Wan. Like the head looks like a Duros hat.
I heard too many guys in that sentence that I lost track of which guy I was supposed to be looking at.
In front of the guy.
Yeah, it's the guy from the thing,
Like,
why do we not
directly dead center back
we
there?
need like a
look
pointer.
At the building.
StreamYard needs to add a pointer feature so we can like point to
and draw on the image.
On this. Yeah.
Sorry, Ben. What were you saying? Right to the center.
No, I'm seeing what Jesse is seeing, which is
I see that too.
Dead center. Like in the middle of the street, like in the middle of the image, there's kind of just silhouette. It's not like you can't see the details, just like a dark figure. And
okay,
have an outline of a hat.
That's not Cad Bane's hat. That's like that's not a cowboy hat. That's way too small a hat.
Also, it would be a pretty big deal if like Cad Bane is here. Obi-Wan and Cad Bane, they have a history, okay? They know each other. If Cad Bane's around, he would know Kenobi, and it would be a big deal. I would love to see Cad Bane in this. I think it'd be really cool, but also we have a lot of other stuff to cover in this show, so like it feels like a bit of a detour.
Cad Bane. Look, Cad Bane showing up in anything is always fun. Is always a good time, but I don't see it in this picture. I think it's unlikely, but you never know. I've been wrong before. So those are the total film pictures. They're three pretty great pretty striking images with the Grand Inquisitor, this new city planet, and Obi-Wan undercover on Tatooine. This is a pretty solid release from the Grand from the Grand Inquisitor, from Total Film. They also have some stories about with interviews with the cast and crew of this show. One from Ewan McGregor where season 1's not already out and he's already campaigning for season 2.
Oh heck yeah! Forget about limited series.
Yeah, he's like, what's a limited series? He says, if we were to get an opportunity to do it again, I'd totally be up for that. And then he says, here I go again. It's me knocking at Disney's door again. And he also says, it was nice to come back and to bridge the gap between me and Alec Guinness. I got as much or more out of playing him this time than I did in the first 3 movies put together. That's to do with the writing and the people that we're making the series with and the technology and how different everything was.
I mean, if this is the most successful show on Disney Plus out ever, how can they not make a season 2? And you know what it's going to be called? It's going to be called Obi-2 Kenobi. Oh, jeez. I mean, that's the name, obviously.
Obi-2 Kenobi, yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Go ahead, Ben.
No, I'm just thinking of something really stupid.
Now you have to say it.
I'm thinking of like fat in the same vein as Fast and the Furious. To Kenobi, to Ben, something. Yeah, something.
Wait,
to Obi-Wan. To Obi-Wan.
To Trelix. What? No.
Oh no, you've gone too
careful.
Gone too far. No, no, just move along.
Here's the thing about a season 2. I want to see season 1 before I get excited for a season 2, and that's not because I don't expect the show to be good, but I feel like they're doing everything in season 1. Like once you do the things they're talking about doing in this season, where is there left to go?
That's true.
My feeling is, where is there left to go? It's called A New Hope.
And I feel
recast
like
Alec Guinness with you and
we have to remember this show started as a movie. It started in production as we're going to make a Obi-Wan movie. It just expanded out into a several-hour series. As much as I would love for this to be an ongoing thing, I don't want to lose focus either. I want them to stay focused and tell the story that they originally intended to tell, and not, try to string us along and go like, oh, well, we can save Vader for season 3 and let's, do all this. Like, give us what you were going to do. And then if there's more story to tell down the line, there's always more stories. I want Obi-Wan Kenobi to be everything we wanted. If we get extra, that's fine. But I think there is a danger of like pushing things a little too far. Because, I just want, obviously it's not going to please everybody. If we're, there's a lot of expectations riding on this. We've already talked about that, but I want them to put their best foot forward with this season, this limited series. And then if there's more story to tell later, then get Ewan back. Because I don't want this to be Ewan's last outing. I want him to come back. I want him to keep playing this character, but not at the expense of what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, you want him to keep playing the character if there's a good story reason for him to keep playing the character. And the nice thing is, if we come up with a new story, or if they come up with a new story, 10 years from now for Obi-Wan Kenobi 2, or Obi-2 Kenobi, 2 Obi-Wan, 2 Kenobi, I don't know. You can certainly bring him back later, because he, the visual difference, the physical difference between Alec Guinness in Episode 4 and Ewan McGregor in Revenge of the Sith is still pretty drastic, and so there's space for Ewan to age some more and then do another story that's closer to Episode 4, somewhere down the line. Joel says, I don't want season 2. I think that's stretching the story, but spinoffs from a new character who appears in Kenobi is a different story. I'd buy it. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with all of these shows, is there's a potential for the characters that are in them to get their own spinoffs. We're seeing that with the Mandoverse, with the Ahsoka series and the Book of Boba Fett. I mean, those two obviously were pre-established characters, but there was a plan for Rangers of the New Republic that is either been scrapped or being dramatically rewritten because of outside reasons. But so there was an intention to do that. And so, if, Kumail Nanjiani's character is really cool, or Indira Varma's character is really cool, or O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character is really cool, let's do spinoffs with them or incorporate them into other spinoffs. Like if some of those characters presumably are playing some version of Rebel fighters, let's incorporate them into season 2 of Andor. Like just bring them together some way, somehow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
These shows are close enough in the timeline that there's got to be some crossover between the two somewhere.
And we have to remember, this is the first series. This is the first live action series in the Dark Times era, in the era between 3 and 4. I think, if post 6 has been any indication, we're going to be seeing a lot of connectivity and a lot of Andor, the second series we assume it's going to be in this era, is going to be directly connected to Rogue One, a direct spin-off of Rogue One that's set in a similar era. So I think there's a lot of play area. There's a lot of opportunities to take a character, take one of the Inquisitors that shows up here, maybe they show up in Andor for some reason, or an Imperial officer or whatever, and vice versa. I think I love those smaller connections. I love it when it's not just like, oh, we're doing a spinoff. It's like, okay, it makes sense that this character would show up now. It makes sense that you'd have one of the Inquisitors, because they're around at this time. The Grand Inquisitor, it makes sense. He'd be going after Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Which character needs to show up in Kenobi or Andor? And there was a lot of talk about this character being in Andor at one point, but it seems to have died down. Enfys Nest.
Yes, please.
Yes. There's a character that needs to come back, and needs to come back in a big way, because she seemed like she was tied in to the Rebel Alliance in a meaningful way. And I think one of these stories, I mean, at least certainly with Andor, probably Kenobi as well, they're going to be tied in with the rebellion in some way or another. And that would be a fun way of incorporating Solo without incorporating Han Solo.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see what else. Let's take a look at the chat here. Jesse says, in A New Hope, Obi-Wan calls Darth a master of evil. Is he talking about the events of Revenge of the Sith, or will we see something in the series that makes that statement more true? Either or.
What more could Darth Vader do?
Yeah.
He killed the women, the children, the younglings. He choked Padme out. Like, what else could he do?
I think probably both. I mean, come on. I mean, we can assume that Obi-Wan's been watching the news. He knows what Vader's been up to the past 10 years or so. Not to mention everything that went down in Revenge of the Sith. You know, I think master of evil, master of everything wrong in the galaxy right now is because of you. I think that's thing is, and in A New Hope, it's 20 years of Obi-Wan probably being very aware of what's going on in the galaxy and what Vader's been up to. Vader, I think just like any show, this will be someone's first Star Wars series. I think if for some reason someone doesn't know who Vader is, I think there's going to be moments where we're going to see Vader being that master of evil, being that just absolutely far gone evil person.
You know what's really cool about this Obi-Wan show is that they're expanding on this really minor background character from the sequel trilogy. Like this guy, you just see his mask and it's like all like burnt up, and they're just totally expanding on it.
And that voice that whispered to Rey a couple of times, it said it was her first steps and her final steps. I love it.
Great. I think though, I mean, ultimately that line is a comeback. It's like a quip, because Vader's saying that, I'm the master now, and then Obi-Wan's like, only a master of evil. So it's a quip. I don't think he premeditated like, oh, he's now a master of evil before. Like it's just a retort.
Yeah, it's true. And it's one of those retorts that's taken on extra meaning because of the memeing of the prequel trilogy, where it's like, now I am the master, which he never got in Revenge of the Sith. Right. That's what he wanted. And Obi-Wan hits him back, only a master of evil, Darth. And he's like, he's calling him by his title too. Like we're like that line when it was written meant something completely different, but now it works on every level.
You have to put the Anakin Obi-Wan quips in A New Hope in context with all the other quips. For example, Sith Lords are our speciality. Yeah. And then 5 seconds later, he's taken out by the Sith Lord. Come on.
Yeah.
That's right.
Tyler in the chat says, what are y'all's thoughts on Darth Vader being not only in this show, but also rumors of him being in Andor? Is this a Vader Renaissance? Vader
Renaissance.
Yeah. Vader Renaissance.
Vader Renaissance.
Yeah, we're giving up on
Forget the portmanteau.
Yeah.
It's only a portmanteau if it's Natalie Portmanteau. That's the only.
I gotta say, I haven't heard the rumors of him being in Andor, so I don't know. I can't comment on the quality of those rumors. I kind of hope he's not in Andor, because Andor eventually leads into Rogue One. And I feel like Vader gets the best introduction you can ask for in Rogue One. That said, I expect to see the Vader suit and some version of Vader along with Hayden Christensen and some version of Anakin in the Ahsoka series.
Oh, heck yeah. It's gotta be.
I feel like that's another one of those ones where it's just kind of a given.
The thing about Andor is I feel like it runs the risk of pulling a Star Wars Rebels if Vader shows up there.
Yeah.
Because you had all this character development going on with the Inquisitor and the Ghost Crew and Rebels, and then all of a sudden Ahsoka and Vader show up, and then it's the Ahsoka Vader show, and then Maul, and then it's like all the previously established characters just kind of hijacked the show. And so I feel like if you spend all this time developing Andor and the Cassians, the Andors family.
Cassian and the Andors.
Mama Cassian, Papa Cassian, brother and sister Cassian. But you spend all that time developing them, and then Vader shows up. I feel it might overshadow them, and maybe whoever the villains of the show are that are new.
Yeah.
I understand maybe the temptation from Andor's point of view to bring in Vader, because it is a spinoff of Rogue One. I understand the idea of like, okay, we're kind of taking all the elements that we have on hand from Rogue One and kind of remixing them and doing that and trying to connect it directly to Rogue One. So Vader wouldn't feel out of place showing up in Andor, but I don't want to see him in that show. I think that's kind of like, I think that's where you like, if you're going to bring Krennic back, do that maybe, or bring another character in. I don't think Vader needs to be in every single show. As much as we haven't got a ton of Vader content over the past several years, I'm totally game with seeing more Vader, but I want it to be meaningful. I think it's going to be meaningful in Kenobi, and it's definitely going to be meaningful in Ahsoka. So I think just having him show up and be the bad guy, I'm not really interested in that.
Maybe they're just lying about what Andor is about, and it's really like a Game of Thrones-esque multiple storylines being woven together, and a third of the show is following Vader, and a third of the show is following Jyn Erso, and and maybe
the last two of the 3 episodes of Andor just inexplicably become about Darth Vader and Cassian just disappears for a while. They could do that. No, that's too crazy. They wouldn't do something like that, would they?
Oh, never.
Jesse suggests maybe a mention of Vader and Andor, something like, "Oh, did you hear about the Emperor's new enforcer?" That could be cool. I could see that.
Okay, I love that. Because I am fascinated with like, okay, what does the average person think of Darth Vader? What is it? What is it they talk about on the news? What is on the holonet? How is he addressed? Something, and how does the average person like think about like, yeah, it's the Republic turned it into an empire, and they're a little more oppressive now, and they're not, you know, they're fascists and all this kind of stuff. But like, what? How do people see the Emperor? Oh, he's just Palpatine. He just used to be the Chancellor. Like, what's the deal with Vader? And like, but then you have the added bonus of like rebel soldiers who may not have come across Vader, may have survived to tell the tale. Like this big black monster that almost killed me one time. Like that's, my friend, I already wiped out an entire battalion. All this kind of stuff. I love that idea.
I mean, yeah, I feel like, you know, people, the Jedi and the Sith probably bring equal fear. They strike equal fear into people, a lot of people, I think. And it would be very interesting. Gosh, that would be an interesting way to go with the Kenobi show, to have kind of like the Batman-esque scene where, like, you know, the lightsaber comes out and Obi-Wan thinks that everybody's going to be excited, but they all are freaked out by it.
Because this in Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's an era where they've been told the Jedi turned on the Republic and tried to take over. They're the bad guys, and the Empire is the good guys. And you know, depending on, and no matter what the timeline is, depending on where you are in the galaxy, maybe, as we were saying earlier, you know, maybe this Dayu planet is less hostile towards the Empire. Maybe they're like, hey, I like the Empire.
Wait,
you Jedi, you know,
the planet's called Dayu,
isn't it?
Is that the first?
I know it has a name. It hasn't registered up here yet for me, so I'm willing to believe anything.
I don't think anybody's actually said official.
If it's Dayu, I know what parody I'm making.
I may have just made that up.
Just thought of it. It clicked. But you know, it's interesting. You know, we talk about. I like this idea of, you know, people not necessarily being psyched to see the Jedi and actually being afraid of them, because usually when we see that moment where a Jedi returns post Order 66, it's greeted with celebration or awe or some kind of excitement. Like. You know, Star Wars Rebels did 4 great seasons with a lot of great moments. But I still think perhaps the best moment in that entire series is in the very first episode, when the rebels are pinned down by the Empire. And Kanan tells Hera that they're going to do a 52 pickup or whatever the thing's called. And Ezra goes, "What's that? You care to let me in on the secret?" And Kanan says, "Kid, I'm about to let everyone in on the secret." And he takes out the 2 pieces of his lightsaber and he puts them together and he walks out and he dodges 1 blaster bolt. And then he ignites his lightsaber. And for a moment, everybody stops. All the Wookiees, Ezra, all the stormtroopers stop, and they're in awe of this, in this moment, this thing that they haven't seen for a decade and a half, a Jedi. Perhaps some of them have never seen one before. They've only heard of tell of this tale, and it's this sort of magical spiritual moment for everybody in that scene. And even Callus is taken aback by the villain of the piece. He goes, "Focus all your fire on," and he sort of pauses, like David Oyelowo does such a great performance in this moment of like, "Focus all your fire on," and then he's sort of like, "I can't believe I'm saying this, on the Jedi," and then Kanan just takes everybody out. It's like it's such a perfect moment in Star Wars Rebels. Like and as such great highs as that show would go on to hit later, I don't know if they ever surpassed that moment. For me, at least, that was one of my favorite moments in all of Rebels. And so it would be cool to then go to a different planet and see the inverse of that. And you could play it almost the same way. You could, "Kid, I'm going to let everybody in on the secret, put the lightsaber out, do something cool, and then turn it on, and everybody goes, ah! Oh my God, what the bleep? Ah, get me out of here. Like really go for it.
Yeah.
Make it happen. There's a story. There's a story in there. Make it so. Yes. What have we got? We got a couple of super chats we need to get to. Joel says, Ewan probably appears in Ahsoka. That's my bet. That would be sweet. I think that would be a cool way to keep him around and involved, even without doing to Obi-Wan. And then also Joel suggesting that Vader should say, "Now I have the high ground."
That would be hilarious.
Ultimate insult to Kenobi.
Yeah, that would be that would be pretty great. Yeah. I'm just looking through the chat here because there's Eric just getting caught up. There's some good stuff. One more from Joel. One more super chat from Joel. Apparently, in Legends, people would think Vader was the dark manipulator puppeting the weak but kindly Chancellor.
Oh, that's fascinating. I never thought of that because he's the face.
Yeah, but I think I don't think Vader was the face. I think Vader was the sort of the secret assassin that came in. I think Palpatine wants everyone to believe he's strong. Even if he puts on the kindly Chancellor, it's the sort of that kind strength. He wants to project that kind of kindly old man strength, when in reality it's evil old man strength that he's got.
Yeah, and how much did the Empire prop up Vader? Was he this kind of presence in the background that they didn't talk about much, that the media wasn't allowed to talk about? Or, was he like, "Hey, this is Darth Vader. Everybody knows Darth Vader. He'll kill you. You do anything wrong, he'll kill you." Like, this whole thing. Yeah. I love
That's the Robot Chicken sketch where they all just pretend to die because he can't actually force choke people. I think what was I going to say? I don't even know. I don't know what I think. I lost my train of thought.
It happens.
Let's get back to the news. Let's look at some more stories because there's some more interviews in here. How about this? So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about there was a report by the Hollywood Reporter that was very disputed at the time, which said that the original plan for the Obi-Wan Kenobi show / movie would have included the return of Darth Maul. And this was sort of disputed even within the story, even within the Hollywood Reporter story. There was one source saying, "What? No, that was never the case. That was never going to happen." And after it came out, there were some, let's call them snide comments from some of the folks that work over at Lucasfilm, and not without reason. There's a lot of BS that gets written about Star Wars. So that was that. So it was sort of an odd story in that regard. Deborah Chow was asked about it by Total Film. She, of course, directed the entire series. And this is what she says. "As long as I've been involved, we've never had Darth Maul in any of it. Dave Filoni did a beautiful job of telling that story already. For anybody trying to tell a story in the middle of these two trilogies, there's only certain elements that made sense where Obi-Wan is. Adding that while Maul failed to make the cut, Vader did not. With a lot of legacy aspects, the decision to bring Vader into it was not made lightly. We're 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. Where is Obi-Wan's starting place? What has been important to him in his life? Anakin and Vader are huge and profound parts of his life. We ended up feeling that he made sense telling this story, and Vader casts such a dark shadow in this that to have Maul as well, it might have felt a little bit much. So, I think there's a little bit of wiggle room here for both for what Deborah is saying to be true, but also for it to have been true that at one point Maul was considered for this story. And it's the very first thing that she says. As long as I've been involved.
Yeah.
Because as I think, Ben, you mentioned earlier, this show wasn't always a show.
That's right.
It was originally a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a movie that came out, that would have come out after Solo, which reincorporated Darth Maul. So they had Ray Park all ready to go with the makeup and the lightsaber and all that. And Sam Witwer doing the voiceover. All of that stuff was all in there, all ready to go. And then they decided to change course. And I think we heard somewhere that it was Dave Filoni's idea to have the Inquisitors be in there. Am I making that up? Does that sound right to you guys, or am I making
that makes sense. If it's not right, it should be.
Yeah. Okay. So So I think probably what happened was they scrapped the movie and said, let's rework this into a show. Also at that time, they would have been getting The Mandalorian up and running. So Dave would have been in the live action world, and he might have been able to look at the story and go, hey, wait a minute. Guys, I already did this on Rebels. So I don't know, maybe we need to come up with something else. And that's when they brought in new writers. And that's when they brought in Deborah Chow to direct, and they reworked the story. And as we talked about when we talked about who the writers are for this show, the first couple of episodes still share a screen credit with the guy who would have written the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So I think probably the movie and the show start in a very similar place, obviously, with Obi-Wan on Tatooine, and probably whatever is the MacGuffin that gets him out into the universe, probably very similar. But at some point they diverge, and the Deborah Chow story is the Vader story, and what would have been the movie story probably would have incorporated Maul, and may well have overwritten Rebels a little bit, or found some way to tie in with it, or something. When it's funny, that same week that the Darth Maul story came out was right around the same time that we first started seeing stuff of the Grand Inquisitor, and it's like Rebels might have been this close, to being overwritten in the canon, which doesn't mean it's not good. Doesn't mean it's not a worthy show to watch, but wouldn't have been canon or completely canon. But instead, it winds up having two of its major villains having not insignificant roles in the show, and having its status as canon confirmed or maintained. So it's interesting stuff. Jesse with a super chat here. I know this is hard to answer since it hasn't come out yet, but would Obi-Wan be better as a movie or a series? I agree with the decision for a series. I don't know.
I mean, the only real difference between the two is whether or not we're seeing it in the theater. And obviously, I would much prefer to see the Clone Wars and the Bad Batch and the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett and all these things in the theater. Like, every Star Wars is at its core cinematic. That's why sometimes I get annoyed when I'm watching things like Star Wars Resistance or Forces of Destiny, because I'm like, this is not up to the cinematic standard sometimes that I'm used to for everything else. Like Visions was cinematic. Visions, I would love if they do a screening of season 1 of Visions at Star Wars Celebration, and it's like a big screen, if I have time, I'd love to go to that and see that stuff with that sound and because I'm sure it would play well. So really, it has nothing to do with the pacing, like whether or not it's a bunch of hour-long episodes, or if it's just one big 2 or 3 hour long movie or a series of movies. Like, I don't really care about how they cut it up. It's the presentation that matters, and I feel like everything that's good quality Star Wars does belong in the theater. It's just the world that we live in doesn't make that possible for everything.
Yeah. I'm willing to come back to this question when the show is done. I still don't think it's fair because we can't see what it would have looked like as a movie. But it's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah.
I'm a movie guy at the end of the day. I'd rather have movies over series. I'd rather have both. But if gun to the earth made me pick, I would take a movie. But I'm very, very happy with this as a series, and I'm very much looking forward to 5 weeks now of movie quality storytelling on Disney Plus telling this story.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different experience, and I have a lot of factors to consider if I had a choice, which I don't.
Right.
But I love the movie going experience. I love going out with people and watching a movie in a big room on a giant screen and sitting down for 2.5 hours and experiencing something like that's great. But I also love not sitting, I don't love sitting alone in my house watching it, but I love doing that week to week to week and experiencing it all and doing all that. We're kind of getting best of both worlds. At least those of us who are going Celebration, we're getting the communal experience of getting to see at least the first couple episodes together, hopefully, and then also getting more week to week stuff afterwards. So with Kenobi, it really comes down to, how do I enjoy experiencing stories just on a purely emotional level. And I want the story to be, as spread out or as neat as it needs to be. I want it to be in this purest form. I think some of the purest stories that have been told on screen recently have been in long form TV formats. So I think I still stand by the idea that I'm glad this is a TV show. And I think if I had a choice, I would still have it this way.
Yeah. And ultimately sort of the cop-out answer is it always depends on it always depends on the story. Some things are better suited to a series. Some things are better suited to a movie. Some things are better suited to a novel. Some things are better suited to a comic. All of these mediums in and of themselves one isn't definitively better than the other. It's just, it comes down to personal preference and how well they tell a certain story. So, yeah. Well, it's impossible to truly judge, but we'll have a better sense at the end of June, perhaps, than we do right now. Joel's with another super chat saying, now Rebels is about to become one of the core components of the current Star Wars canon. Granted, it's been that for a while, kind of like the Clone Wars is. Yeah, it's true. I think this is like with Clone Wars. It starts to happen a few years after the show has been off the air. Because when the show is in production, other things are in production at the same time, and they aren't always able to cross over as well as we want them to, or they're just in different eras, right? Kenobi's in this era, Mando's in another era, so on like that. But once the show goes off the air, then other things start to come into that same era that it was in. So Rebels was in the dark times, Kenobi is in the dark times, and it's sort of like, why not pull from what already exists? So, let's get the Grand Inquisitor, let's get the Fifth Brother, let's get all these guys in there. And I think eventually you'll see that with the sequel trilogy, and I think we'll start to see that sooner rather than later with the sequel trilogy as well. Now that the films are done, it'll be easier to pull elements from them and build on elements from them now that we know where the end point is, and now that you don't run the risk of things changing during production and then having an awkward connection. Joel also with one more super chat saying, Star Wars is better as series than films, to which I say, wrong. No. It's all personal preference. All personal
Many
preference.
of the truth we cling to depend greatly on our point of view.
Exactly.
I mean, well, what do we remember what my average rating was for the entire season of the Book of Boba Fett?
I remember what mine was.
What was yours? Because ours were really close.
I was I was lower, and I think mine was like 7.7, something like that, or 7.8, something like that.
Yeah, so mine must have been, I guess, 8.
Yeah, it was like 8 or 8.1, something like that.
Okay, so there you go. Because that's my rating system is whether or not it's better than the films. That's literally my rating system. 9 is as good as the films. If it's over 9, it's better, and if it's under 9, it's worse. So empirically, it's on average, it's a little bit not as good.
Mm-hmm.
On average.
On average for that one show.
Yeah, for that one particular, the most recent one. Talking about the most recent one.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. We've got another story here. I'm gonna skip ahead from some of these ones that we got in the notes because I want to get to this one. This is Hayden Christensen. We've heard from Ewan McGregor. We've heard from Deborah Chow. Now let's hear from Hayden Christensen. And let's talk about what Hayden did to prepare for his role, to return to his role as Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader in Obi-Wan Kenobi. And well, first let's share what Ewan did. Ewan went back and watched all 9 movies. He watched episode 1 through episode 9, the Phantom Menace through the Rise of Skywalker. He did the whole thing. Doesn't sound like he watched Rogue One or Solo though, but he went back and watched the whole thing. Hayden, on the other hand, watched all the movies, all of Clone Wars, and all of Rebels. He just went all in on it. And nice. I think all of us that do Star Wars podcasts that reviewed the 7th season of the Clone Wars missed a huge opportunity in having a guest, having Hayden Christensen as a guest to break down one of those episodes. Just a missed opportunity, but you have to admire it. It's a dedication to his craft and a dedication to knowing his character. And I would genuinely love to know what he thinks of Matt Lanter's portrayal of Anakin.
Yeah, I want to know his thoughts so bad. I want to believe that like he recorded his own like one-man podcast after every episode and like gave his thoughts. Like I need to know. I need to have a sit down and have a conversation with Hayden Christensen about the Clone Wars because that's just the fact that he watched it is just brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's a very impressive dedication to his craft.
So cool.
Question from the chat. Will Hayden change his performance to sound like Matt Lanter's The Clone Wars Anakin compared to his prequel performance? They are different. That's Joel with another super chat. I say no. I say he shouldn't. Should do what he did. Just keep doing it. That's what I want to see.
That right there, the difference in like the two Anakins that we've all become very familiar with and love, I think, to a unreasonable extent sometimes. You know, having the differences between Matt Lanter and Hayden Christensen, how they approach that character is so there's an ocean between them. Like they're not even in the same ballpark sometimes. Like what they not just their mannerisms, their everything. And that's just a lesson right there of like how actors can do different things with the same character and it works okay. It's fine. Sometimes just characters are just different. And you know, what even the shape of their head maybe is not quite right. It's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting if he does. And, there's some places where I feel like Matt Lanter gives a performance that's very evocative of Hayden. And then there's other places where I feel like he doesn't. So, I don't expect Hayden to do exactly what he did in the prequels, but something that's
there is one thing that I will be disappointed if he doesn't try to emulate Matt Lanter. And it's in the Ahsoka series. And if he does not call Ahsoka Snips at some point, I'll be mad.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
It's gonna happen.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Let's let's skip ahead to our rumor of the week. I heard a rumor. All right. Ben's just dancing to no music right now.
I don't need music to jam out.
This is our rumor of the week. This comes from the Illuminerdi. Some interesting details about the Acolyte. So the Illuminerdi, who they say here that they broke the original news that Amanda Stenberg was going to be the lead actor in the Acolyte, playing the role of Aura, which I believe is a code name, and not Aura Singh, most likely.
Dang it.
But you never know. But the Illuminerdi is back with a couple of new character code names and a few minor details about them. Apparently, there's going to be a character who's code named Paul, who's a Caucasian man in his 50s. They write.
Wait. Timothée Chalamet?
Yeah, he's not old enough yet. He's got to wait a few more years. Which, when they go to make a movie of Dune Messiah, will be very interesting because that book takes place 10 years after the first one. So I don't know if we're going to wait that long. So Paul probably, which honestly as a code name is probably a nod to Dune, given the immense influence that series had on Star Wars. But apparently, so Paul apparently will be a series regular, but will apparently only be part of the show for the first season, which is interesting.
Sean Bean.
Yeah, he could be the Sean Bean of this show. And actually Sean Bean, probably the right age to play this character.
There we go.
So yeah, let's get Ned Stark in the Acolyte. I like it. I'm on board. And I want him to do that, the Ned Stark I can't do the accent. I want him to do that accent though. I want him to just be Ned Stark. That's just his voice.
Winter is coming.
Yeah, winter's. I'm just trying to become the Beatles if I try. Winter is coming. The other character that they're looking to cast is named Miri, and they're looking to cast a young black girl aged 8 to 10. It was described as a lead guest star, and apparently Lucasfilm might be looking for identical twins to play this character. So
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things where they need twins to play one character because they're young and there's all sorts of rules about how long kids can be on set for. So you have two kids play the same character, and that's how you get around the rules and can shoot longer with the character. But it's interesting. I don't know. That could. These are two sort of interesting, intriguing little bits of casting news or little casting tidbits. And also, according to the Illuminerdi, the Acolyte, which was supposed to begin filming this year, has actually been shifted back to later to this fall. It was supposed to start filming this spring, but it's been shifted to October to begin production, and is expected to wrap by May of next year.
Fascinating. So we're probably not going to be seeing this till the end of 2023 or maybe beginning of 2024.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, they can speed things along a little bit, but not that much. But yeah, I think honestly, wrapping in May, it's probably 2024. I feel like you got to finish filming by March to have it at by the end of the year.
Quick, finish this shot. The show goes on air tonight. Live to tape. Let's go.
Yeah, they can do those. Like back in the day, they used to have like live episodes of TV shows. Like The West Wing did a live episode, and so why not just do a live episode of The Acolyte?
They did that with freaking heck. It was this random sitcom. I can't remember which one it was, but they did it during Election Day, and the episode was about Election Day. And they did it live so that they could change the storyline depending on who won the election.
Didn't South Park do that?
It wouldn't surprise me if they did too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, how do you do an animated show live though?
Well, you change. I guess you change the voices.
Oh yeah. You could do the voiceover live. Yeah, you do the voiceover live. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember The Simpsons did a thing a few years ago where they did a live thing with Homer at the end of the episode where people could call in and ask Homer questions, and they had sort of like an animation going live, and Dan Castellaneta just doing the voice and answering the questions at like improv style. So, there's ways that it can be done.
We'll do it live.
Yeah. I'll write it and we'll do it live. So that's what's going on with the Acolyte. Got 2 characters they're looking to cast. Shooting later this year rather than earlier, and as of yet, no announcement of a live episode, but surely that's just around the corner. Also in the news this week, Charles Sewell, heard of him? He's one of the writers for the High Republic. He has written several comic book series for Star Wars, including Darth Vader and Poe Dameron. He's got a new gig over there at Lucasfilm, and he's a creative consultant. This was picked up on his Star Wars Celebration bio, and he confirmed it with a tweet where he says, "Guess this is getting out there. Very excited about this new role. It's been a blast so far, and it's letting me do some really cool stuff in the galaxy far, far away. So for too long didn't read, I'm officially a creative consultant for Lucasfilm, and it's cool."
wait. My question is the TLDR for all the stuff he retweeted, or is it for the sentence above that? Because that's a very short sentence to not read. Also, hey, Maggie's the one writing about that story. We know Maggie.
Yeah,
cool.
Friend of the show, Maggie Lovett, was the first person one of the first people to spot the fact that Charles Bio has the fact that he's a creative consultant for Lucasfilm, which begs the question: what does it mean? What does this all mean?
I mean, I if I was Charles Sewell, right, you get the email saying you've been promoted to CC, and then they say, "Oh, we mean creative consultant," and then Charles is like, "Wait, so I'm not gonna be a clone commander?" you guys really got my hopes up there.
It feels like just a natural choice at this point, because Charles Soule has been so involved with so much of building of this universe, this new canon, that it kind of makes sense that, hey, we need to bring you in to consult with you, because he's probably done the research. He probably knows this stuff better than a lot of people. He's created half of it. So, that's, I think at worst, it's like well-deserved that he gets this. And, at most it's, obviously showing that he's going to have a even bigger role in the future of the franchise.
Yeah. Joel in the chat makes this comment. Soul being a creative consultant, I think, means a good shot now of a High Republic TV series. At least that's my theory. And we heard all those rumors about the Grammar Rodeo, which is apparently the working title for a High Republic series. And there was rumblings that went along with those rumors that a member of the Luminous team, which were the 5 authors who kickstarted the High Republic, was involved in some way. And, Charles Soule being a creative consultant at Lucasfilm is one way to, keep an open line of communication between the Grammar Rodeo and the Project Luminous teams. So I feel like that could well lend itself to this. So I think very likely I think that's very likely what's going on here. And I suspect we'll learn more about Grammar Rodeo, including what it is actually titled, during the showcase event at Star Wars Celebration.
It's for sure titled Grammar Rodeo. That is the best name for a show ever. 100%.
The best name for a show ever. All right, that about brings us to the end of the news list. But we're not quite done yet, because as Ben mentioned off the top of the show, he spent his 30th birthday, celebrating his 30th birthday, dancing the night away at Disney World down there in Florida, and specifically at Galaxy's Edge. And if you follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E,
as you do,
he got to go on a certain ride, which is of course Rise of the Resistance, which means I believe all three of us
Mhm.
have now been on Rise of the Resistance, albeit separately. We have not gone together. We'll have to wait until probably Star Wars night at Disneyland to go
Disney
together.
World, Disneyland, and wherever Disney Canada is.
Yeah. So we've all been on Rise of the Resistance, so I think we should talk about it. And it's such a story heavy ride, and I don't want to give too much away story wise, plot wise, quote unquote.
Honestly, it's been like 6 months since I've been on it, so I remember half the plot now.
Yeah,
anyway.
so we won't give it all away, but I think we should talk about our kind of our impressions of it. And Ben, since it's freshest in your mind, over to you, birthday boy. What'd you think of Rise of the Resistance?
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to kind of address my fears going into the ride and assure some people, because going into it, because there has been some changes, and I did a lot of research leading up to this. Like, okay, how do you actually ride the ride, like without waiting in line for like 4 hours, or is that even possible? Because for a while it was just like you got in the virtual queue, and then if you didn't get in, that was it. You wouldn't ride it. Now there is a regular standard queue. If you want to like a fast pass or lightning lane or whatever, it's like that's a whole nother story. That's like you have to pay like super extra, and it's not even guaranteed. So I don't even recommend like going for that. Just go get in line if you want to ride this thing. And it was really like, it was like 120 minutes. Like, it really wasn't that many minutes. Like, they break it down into minutes. They don't say hours, but naturally for Disney, but like, it really was not that long of a wait. I was expecting like 3.5, 4 hour wait. It was like half that for us getting on it. And this is at Disney World, naturally. And even if it was worth every minute waiting.
So how long would you say you waited for? Sorry.
About an hour and a half, I guess.
Hour and a half? Okay. So I don't mean to interrupt, Ben.
No.
But I just have to let you know this. One of my work colleagues, she's going down to Disney World soon, and she's all hyped for it, and has been spending our breaks researching ride wait times. Okay. And has been looking at the ride wait times frequently and updating me on how long the ride wait times were. And I knew when you were down there because of your posts. And I saw that one of the days that you were down there at about, let's say 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock Eastern time, the wait time for Rise of the Resistance was 45 minutes. And neither of us could believe that.
I couldn't either. Because actually for us, it was like, when like they let the Disney like people that stay in the park, what does it say?
65 minutes.
65 right now as we speak. But this is Disneyland.
Yeah.
Right. But I think they're pretty comparable. But like, we got in and we had a problem with our tickets. It took us like 45 minutes to get into the park. And that was after like all the Disney people that stay in the park had already gone in. So I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so, but it really, like, I kept an eye on it like all day, like all morning, and it never was that bad. So I feel like the numbers, people have been inflating the numbers in their head, and it's not nearly as bad. Yeah, sure. We went on maybe a slower day, and maybe certain days are higher, maybe especially like weekends or whatever. We were on a weekday. So, it's up in the air, but I think even if you do have to wait all that time, it's totally worth it. That's what I'm trying to say. I think I wouldn't be scared away by that, because a lot of times it's not that long.
Well, the other thing too is that it's like, a secret, not secret, that the official wait times that they tell you are wrong. Like, they tell you it's going to be longer than it is on purpose by like 5 or 10 minutes. So you're always excited because you're like, oh, I'm getting on earlier than I thought. And you're hyped to ride the ride. Like, it's a thing they do. Like, Star Tours always says a 20-minute wait. Always. Yeah. Even if it's just walking through.
It's the same logic when like you make a reservation at like, you go to a restaurant and they're like, oh, it'll be like a 30-minute wait. It's always seems to be about, 20, 25-minute wait. It's never longer than 30 minutes. You're like, they planned that. Like, they always overestimate, so that because you're like, it's been 30 minutes, where is my table? Like, that's the general rule. But to get into the ride itself, like, it's amazing. Like, I don't want to give away many spoilers, but like, everything. It's what amazes to me about it is the fact that the ride starts and you don't even realize it. Like you're kind of mosey on into it, and you're like, it's kind of like you get to a certain part where it's kind of like the Haunted Mansion, and you're like, okay, we're going into a room, something's happening, but you don't like, you're like, oh, this is just part of it. It's just like part of the line. It's not the actual ride. But then you're basically doing it. You're in the experience. And I think it's brilliant in that sense that, like, I mean, even leading up to it, like, it's so interesting, all the stuff that got in the line itself, you got to look at, you know, and honestly, the line was moving too fast for me because I wanted to stop and look at a lot of the stuff, and it was just moving way too fast. But then you're like getting into it. It's not just the ride. Like, yes, you get into a car and you're strapped in and you do the thing. And I know if you've done any research or been on the internet at all the past year or so, 2 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But it's not just that. There's so much more to it, and it's an experience. It's not just a ride, and you will be on it before you realize it.
Yeah. Chris, what about you as the person with the faintest memories of having been go from the most recent to the faintest?
I just remember breaking the ride. That's the part that I remember is messing up and going in the wrong spot. That's what I remember the most. But I've only got to do it once, but it was really fantastic, and it was very immersive, and it was very unique. I think the biggest takeaway that I had from it is there's nothing else that's even remotely like that ride that I've ever been on before, because it's your mixture of like a walk through haunted house experience with actual ride, Indiana Jones ride like experience. Like, it's so many things kind of put together that it's really hard to explain. So I think it's definitely something that everybody should do, even if they're not into Star Wars, because it's just like so unique and different.
Yeah, it's almost, the ride itself is almost secondary, like, to the experience.
Yeah.
Because you're we talk about walking around in Star Wars in the park, but there's a whole other level to it in this ride. And it really makes me wonder what the hotel experience is like, because that even more so would be, walking around in Star Wars.
It makes me wonder why they didn't use some of the concepts for the ride for Batuu. Like, when you get to Batuu, why isn't there a thing that's like when you leave Batuu on the ride? Like that, but I understand it's like flow of movement and yada, 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 but that would just add so much more to the experience, and crowd control is always a good thing, right? So that would be able to control how many people were in there if they had a thing like that. So it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
But we see all of the rumors about like why the ride was being held up and why it didn't open the day that Galaxy's Edge opened. They all make sense when you ride the ride and you realize how many complicated parts are to it. Like, okay, I see why they thought this was going to work, and then they tried to do it and they built it and it didn't. It is so complex.
It's basically two rides.
Yeah.
Like, there's you go through the line, you get the little beginning of the story, you do one thing that's like a ride, then you get off that thing and you have to wait again, which I know for us is no big deal because we love Star Wars and we love just the experience. There was somebody who was in my group who was like, I cannot wait in any more lines. I am done. I am out. I cannot do this anymore.
I came to Disneyland to not wait in lines.
Yeah, I know, right?
Some people.
But then you get on the second part of the ride, which is the actual ride, and it's unlike anything else. Like, it's like I said, the ride itself is secondary. The experience is the main thing, and it's of all of the rides there are, it's the only one I think that where you really get like a story from beginning to end. That is interactive in a way. Like, usually the stories for most of the rides are just sort of, window dressing for a roller coaster. Like that's what they are for the most part. With this, it's like you're involved in the story. There's a lot going on. And it's a lot of fun. It's really something else. And I'll tell you what it did for me, and I think it did for you too, Ben, and I suspect you probably feel similar, Chris, is that it made me realize how much I enjoyed the sequel trilogy characters.
Yeah.
and how much I miss them, and
Mhm.
how much I would like to see more from them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when I went on it, it was November of last year, so it was almost 2 years to the day that we saw that Rise of Skywalker came out, that we last saw Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo, Hux, and co. And so we have had almost no storytelling with them since then, other than I guess the Lego special. And so seeing Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac and John Boyega and all of those guys in this ride as those characters, I was just overcome with this sort of feeling of God. I didn't realize how much I loved these characters. I don't love every choice that was made in those movies, but I love those characters and I love those actors, and they did such a great job across all 3 films that I want to see more from them, and I hope we see more from them soon. And that was more than anything else is what I came away with from that, was just a reminder of how much fun the sequel era was, how great those characters and actors were, and how great it would be to see them again real soon.
Yeah, it caught me off guard because one of the first bits is the hologram scene with Rey, and that's the one part that I had seen. Like, I think it was maybe even advertised a lot, and obviously all the fan videos and whatever out there that it's been floating around for years. So I'd kind of seen that part. I knew what to expect. So I'm like, oh yeah, okay, I know this part. I walk in and I'm seeing this, and she shows up and does her thing, and I genuinely started to tear up. And it kind of like, wow, I surprised myself, because it was kind of this overwhelming experience of like, I didn't realize I know it's Star Wars. I love it. I have an emotional connection. I didn't know I had this much of an emotional connection to these characters and to this era. And for me, it's like, yeah, of course I do. Spent you better part of 10 years watching these movies, talking about it, anticipating it, all that stuff. Of course it hits me in the feels. But I didn't check myself there. So, it's great. I think, it's funny. It's funny watching some videos. I'm on the way down. We're driving. I'm in the car. I start watching some videos of people talking about, oh, how do you get on the ride? And of course, I run across at least one YouTuber. Oh, well, this Rise of the Resistance thing, I don't even know why they themed it Batu. It should have been Tatooine or Hoth. It hasn't been nearly as successful as Disney wanted it to be, and blah blah blah. And
$1 billion. That's such
and
a
here
small
I
amount of
am the
money.
next day, like waiting in line an hour and a half on one of the rides this land to get on, this thing, when it's, all the times 4 hours long. But it goes back to like this stuff, it may not mean anything to you, but it means something to somebody. And I dare say there's a lot of kids running around that is their Star Wars. And I can only imagine being 6 years old going on that ride.
Yeah.
Like, that has to be a mind-blowing experience.
Yeah, I intentionally avoided seeing anything from that ride and any of the videos from
me too
that you could.
Same.
I'd seen a picture here and there, so I knew that there was a Rey hologram at one point, but beyond that, I had no idea. And I'd almost the same experience, Ben. Like when that Rey hologram popped up and BB-8 rolls in, lump in my throat. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, we're back. And then you're out, and then you see Poe's X-Wing, and there's a video from him, and it's just a tremendous experience. Very quickly, super chat from Joel. I think we have to make T-shirts that say "Super Chat from Joel" on them. It's a strange thought, but the fact that no sequel trilogy characters are in books and comics is a good sign for me. It means they want to bring them back in a big way. I agree. I think they're holding out for them for episode 10 or a series in some way. But they're protecting that those characters in that era for something else down the line.
Can we all agree that at the closing ceremony of Star Wars Celebration, we're all gonna chant episode 10 until they kick us out?
Yeah.
10.
Yeah. yeah. I love it. My final question to you guys about Rise of the Resistance. If you're ranking your favorite Disneyland rides as rides, because there was a lot of hype about this one going in. Where do you put Rise of the Resistance?
This is difficult for me because I've only done it once. I really need to hit up that thing like 10 times at Disney Star Wars night to really get my opinions, because it's not fair, because every other ride I've done 10 to 100 times. But as a first experience, it was an amazing first experience because there's so many elements and so many different things about it. So I would definitely rank it as like a really top tier first experience on a ride. I think my 3 favorite rides at Disneyland are Smuggler's Run, Pirates of the Caribbean, and Indiana Jones. Those are my 3 favorite rides. So I think we're gonna have to wait till after Disney Star Wars night for me to place Resistance in that ranking and see if it cracks that top 3 or not. But as a first experience, it was definitely a top tier, exciting first experience.
Nice, Ben.
Yeah, I mean, Star Tours is always going to hold a special place in my heart. I think it probably is, like, has been my favorite ride at Disney either park. And there's a lot of second and third places there, and I don't know, it's hard to like. I all I can say right now is Rise of the Resistance has a very strong chance of dethroning it. Very strong chance.
Nice.
Yeah. My top 3 are Smuggler's Run, Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Because I love rides that go up and down really fast.
That's at my bottom. That's the bottom of my list.
I hate that. I love Guardians. I hate that.
I love
Dominic
that
was
ride.
there when I turned white and said, I will never do this again.
Yeah, I've ridden that ride with both of you, and both of you came away from it different people.
I never forget like walking away from that ride, and you and Zach are like, "We're going again." I'm like, "Guys, I'll meet you outside. I'll meet you later. I'll be right here."
Yeah, so I love the up and down, and I love the thing about that one that I love is it doesn't just up once and then drop down again, as you do it multiple times, and I love when you're at the top and you feel like if it wasn't for the seatbelt, you'd fly away. I love that feeling. I love
my nightmares.
I love the Guardians of the Galaxy, like 70s, 80s soundtrack to it, and just the fact that the Guardians cast is there.
That's the one part of Rise of Resistance that I hate, is the part where the bottom falls out.
And see, the reason why Rise of the Resistance doesn't crack my top 3 is because that part isn't long enough.
That's the only reason why I will ride it again.
That's the
reason why.
That's the part. It's not long enough, and you don't go fast enough through the rest of it.
Do not tell. None of the Imagineers are allowed to hear this feedback.
It needs to go faster, because my top 3 are Smugglers for the Falcon-ness of it all. Mission Breakout, Guardians of the Galaxy for the falling down as fast as you can, and the ride formerly known as California Screamin', which I think is it's like the Incredibles coaster now. Incredicoaster now, because it's honestly just a roller coaster, and I love a good roller coaster.
Yeah.
And over on the East Coast, Rock and Roller Coaster is a fave of mine as well. And this was especially a favorite of mine when we did it during Star Wars night, because they replaced all the Aerosmith music with John Williams. So it was great. So I love Rise of the Resistance as an experience, and I will go again many, many times, and we'll recommend it to everybody many, many times. But if I'm looking for a ride, I'm going to the the Guardians of the Galaxy or the Incredibles, because those guys know how to go fast. They got the speed.
Dominic's a Disney California Adventure person, and I'm a Disneyland person. Like the Cars ride is just a little bit much over in Disney California Adventure. Just a little bit much.
I love and in Disneyland. I wanted to call it Hyperspace Mountain. Space Mountain is
it's Hyperspace Mountain.
It's Hyperspace Mountain now. That's a good solid. That's a good time. That's a good time as far as I'm concerned. It's a good one.
I just barely can handle that one. I don't know why. It goes really slow indoors. I guess it's because it's indoors.
Yeah. So basically, all I'm saying is, Rise of the Resistance. I love it as an experience, but as a ride, it's okay. It's okay. If you took away the Star Wars-ness of it all, I wouldn't be lining up for it too often. But because you have the Star Wars-ness of it all, I'm there every single
worth
time.
just getting smack talked by First Order officers.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's worth that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you get the cast members are like, they're interacting with you and they're in character. It's great. It's so much fun. So much fun. But yeah, so hopefully the three of us will go. I'm sure we'll go together during Star Wars night, and if other people are there, hopefully you can come along with us.
We want to get as many of our listeners who are going there with us. We know tickets sold out a long time ago. I tried getting extra tickets and I got like 1,000 scammers messaging me from all over the world saying, "Do you want general admission $40 tickets too?" I'm like, what? So if you were someone who's listening, watches our podcast, and unfortunately cannot make it to Celebration and got those tickets, don't return them to Disney. Send them to us. We'll reimburse you. Give them to people in our audience so we can have 6 people to take the Falcon over and all that stuff.
Yeah. All right. I think with that, we can begin to wrap things up for this week.
Right. That music always, I'm like, wait, what's happening? Oh, right. That's our outro music now. Oh,
well,
right.
If you're listening to the podcast version, right, you noticed that a couple of weeks ago it switched back to the classic. But if you're listening live, it's the rock and roll new thing. So it's a moderately different experience if you're listening live versus or watching after the fact versus listening to the podcast version. So
yeah, that's super cool.
That's why you have to listen. That's why you'll have to listen and watch twice.
That's right. And definitely, if you're listening, leave a review over on the Apple Podcast app or wherever else lets you leave a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure that you leave a comment. We'll be back same time, same place with another show next Thursday. I think our show will be on It's Always a Bigger Fest.
Yep.
I think next week. So we'll be celebrating that along with Qui-Gon Jinn and everybody else. And in the meantime, at the SWU is where you can follow us on social media so that you don't miss any updates. In the meantime, Dominic, thank you so much for hosting tonight.
It was my pleasure as always. Great fun talking about everything, and I'm really hopeful that we'll get to see everybody at IHOP on the what is it, the 27th of May or 26th of May. Forget I said 27th.
We'll get it right one of these days.
26th of May. And it's almost our normal showtime too, which is exciting. It's a half hour later at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
So we want you to experience the last half hour of Star Wars Celebration. We're not trying to compete with that.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have some pancakes. We'll do a show. We'll have some music. We'll shock the IHOP staff into wondering what the hell they signed up for, and it will be all around good times. I cannot wait for that. Cannot wait for next week. It's going to be fun. See y'all in 7 days.
Yeah, you can follow Dominic on social media at DominicJ25. Ben, thank you so much for hosting as well, and a happy birthday.
Oh, sorry, I'm not one. Yay! Yes, thank you so much. This was a blast. And yeah, getting to experience Rise of the Resistance finally, because the last time I was at Disney, it was opening the next day.
I cannot believe that happened to you. I forgot about that.
Yeah, so I got to sit there and go, there it is. I can't go on it. It opens tomorrow. Yeah, that was pretty torturous. So it's been a long 2.5-ish years since that happened.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been wild, but yeah, glad to talk about it. I can't wait to write it again. I'm because I'm like, I'm going to Disney next month too. Yes. So yeah, that's I'm very much looking forward to that. And all the experiences. We've got a wild like we're less than a month from Celebration. It's kind of starting to wrap my head around that, and then all the stuff's gonna happen in between. Yeah, it's gonna be great. All I'm gonna say here is I'm no Jedi.
Awesome. And you can follow Ben on social media at Ben Hart with no E. You can follow me at Seek3PO. Make sure if you enjoyed the show and you're not subscribed, punch that subscribe button. And if you're listening to the audio version, definitely check out our visual show whenever you can. There's a lot of added elements to it that just don't fully translate over to audio. But anyone who does continue listening to audio, we very much appreciate your support.
If you only listened to the audio version this week, you missed Chris squinting at the screen because he lost his glasses and couldn't read the comments.
Very, very, very true. And we want to thank everybody who gave us super chats in the live stream. Special shout out to Jesse and Joel for all the multiple super chats. You guys are awesome. We're gonna have to get a lot of pancakes for you guys at Celebration to make up for your generosity. And thank you as well to both of you for becoming channel members, Jesse and Joel. And yeah, we appreciate anybody that signs up to become a member of our 410. Thank you guys so much. Patreon.com/the SWU is where you can get our merch. It's also where you can get exclusive access to the pre-shows that we do on YouTube about a half hour before our regular shows. And we had a super fun pre-show earlier. We'd love everybody to check that out. Any donation on Patreon, whatever the lowest number is that they'll let you give, $1 will get you into all of that exclusive content at patreon.com/theswu. Check out all of our other shows at Culture Slate. Make sure you check out the merch store we have at cultureslate.com. And then finally, if you'd like to give us feedback, swunderworld@gmail.com is where you can contact us for anything, and also send emails that we, as much as we can, read on the show with your fantastic thoughts. So thank you, everybody. We're out of here. We'll be back next week. Until then, I went longer than the music. I didn't even know that. I thought that music just looped forever. I didn't know that.
It has a little dip. There's a little dip,
and it was it was a little bit.
Just a little too soon.
Just missed it. Just missed it. The people listening to the audio podcast are going to be so confused. They're like, there wasn't a dip. What are they talking about? Anyway, for Dominic and Ben and all these fantastic contributors we have here at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Chris, and may the Force be with you.
It's alright.